Ambassador Chergui, 2020 was supposed to be the celebration year of the Silencing the Guns initiative, but it is also the year of COVID-19. How the pandemic poses critical challenges to the African peace and security landscape?
Well, I think, as you mentioned very rightly, we were normally supposed to silence the guns really by this year. Because we are in 2020. But you know that this was indeed an objective to rally all Africans around this noble objective. And I mean, we can't be, sure that in the complexity of the conflicts that we have, then that this objective could be easily obtained in the face of also the fact that terrorism is increasing its impact and intervention, in the face also of external interferences in the continent, which complicates our efforts. But also, no one expected this COVID-19 pandemic to hit all the world and Africa as well so hardly, which implies that many of our efforts have been, if not stopped, at least the way we are working has dramatically changed. If you take our efforts in mediating, so we cannot anymore because all the airplanes have stopped, airports have closed. So it was difficult, for example, to join the efforts in South Sudan, in Juba, in the talks between Sudan armed groups. It was the case in many places. So definitely COVID had a huge impact on our effort, but on the other hand, we did not have any other choice than to really continue responding and protecting civilians. And this is what we have been doing in Somalia, because we recovered a very important town called Janali in March. And on every day we are facing new attacks from terrorist groups in Somalia, in the Sahel mainly. So in Libya, and you have been following what is happening in Libya. So I want to agree with you that, yes, I think not only the fact, the initial objective of having Africa free of conflicts this year needs additional work, but also the impact of COVID-19 is real, although we have to adapt to it.
But the Silencing the Guns initiative was launched in 2013. Now, today we know that there are still a number of African countries trapped in the vicious cycle of violent conflict. But we also have witnessed progress since 2013. What are the main progress that have been made in preventing, managing and resolving conflict in Africa since 2013?
Yeah, I think the progress can be highlighted maybe at three levels. First, the fact that we have developed or reinforced our tools, continental tools, in terms of preventing and managing the conflicts. The significant investment we have made is really in prevention. So not only we reinforced our tools here in the headquarters in Addis, but also the interaction, the cooperation with regional economic groupings and their also tools for prevention have been dramatically or importantly reinforced. We have also included in our work the structural prevention. So I think we can say today that we are working better. We even included the issue of climate change in our work in terms of prevention, because this has become now one of the main challenges due to the impact of climate change in the continent. Secondly, we have really reinforced our cooperation with our partners, mainly UN. So we are now doing joint assessment of any situation, and the relation between our Peace and Security Council and the Security Council has been really reinforced. As you know, they have 2 sessions a year, and they are even planning joint visits on the ground. So we are also doing that with the European Union, with COPS. We are doing that with our regional groupings indeed. So I think this is also an added value to what we are doing, and to really have an impact on this situation. The third is the reviewed or deployment of our efforts on the ground in terms of going ourselves. I mean, the leadership of the Commission being directly implicated in the negotiations of the resolution of some conflicts. This has been the case in Central Africa Republic. As you know, I have myself conducted those efforts, which led to the agreement of the 6th of February last year. And the agreement, although we have some challenges, but I think it's holding, and we are really advancing on many issues, including the reinforcement of the presence of the state in very remote countries, areas of Central Africa before. And we are preparing the next elections in December. I think the preparations are going well. This is an indication that this country is coming slowly to normalcy. Then you had Sudan, indeed, where also African Union was in the lead to secure the political agreement together with IGAD. And I think this has been really a very big achievement. As we speak today, I think our efforts continue in reinforcing the implementation of the peace agreement in Mali. And we are also helping the stabilization of, because the prevention of conflict includes also, or does not limit only to the security and defense response. It needs also the other element, which means development, which means also all the issues of governance. It is political governance, economical governance, and here I think we are also doing quite well. Just to give an example, we have launched a stabilization strategy in the Lac-Chad Basin, where we brought really people from the remote areas where they have people really suffering from not only terrorism but also underdevelopment or lack of justice. So we all brought them together. We managed to prepare this strategy, and now it is quite well working, to the extent that we are also thinking to duplicate it for the Sahel region. So I can continue. I think also we we are deploying continuous effort in DRC, not only to see how we can deal with all the tremendous number of armed groups that they have on the east of the country, but also all the other threats that they have, including helping them on COVID, but also on Ebola, which has unfortunately resumed its presence there. So all in all, I think we are responding to the very difficult, complex challenges in the continent, both in terms of security, but also in terms of development, in terms of also inclusivity, in terms also of promoting the role of women and youth in this continent. Because without that inclusivity, I think we will not have sustainable and durable solutions.
Thank you, Ambassador. So you explain how in these years the African Union has improved its tools and also its effort on the ground. But speaking more in particular about the Sahel region, very recently the African Union has announced that in order to show its solidarity to the Sahel region, is thinking to deploy a multinational joint task and 3,000 troops for 6 months in order to further degrade terrorist groups in the region. But does really the Sahel need another military initiatives from the African Union rather than a coordination of the myriad military initiatives that are already in place in the region?
I think this is a very pertinent question you are putting forward, because unfortunately since 2013, 2014, we have seen a surge of initiative and forces, and also the presence of MINUSMA and other partners, also all of them coming to the region. But on the other hand, we can only realize that the threat is expanding. I mean, at the beginning, it was only North Mali. Now today, I mean, unfortunately, a few days ago, a new terrorist attack has been realized in Côte d'Ivoire. So not to mention Burkina, which is going in a very challenging time, and other countries of the coast of West Africa coast is now, they are all on alert. So then you can just see or ask your question, what is the value of such heavy presence, heavy technology presence, because we have here very powerful countries there presence. But meanwhile, we cannot prevent new attacks or the expansion of this threat. So I think our idea of deploying this force, it is an African force. It is rather a solidarity gesture from Africa to the Sahel countries for 6 months in order to allow them to breathe, to finalize the training of their troops, the equipment, so that they can stand by their own. I think we are of the view that the security challenges should be dealt by the African countries themselves. Although we welcome the support that we had before, but I think time has come now. I think this is what the African citizens are asking us to do. So I think on one hand, we appreciate the support we have had, but it's time now to really have this appropriation and put this responsibility on the African armies. And unfortunately, not only Sahel, but today you see even that this issue has even hit Mozambique today. So if we don't decisively address it in all parts of our continent, with the lead role and the responsibility of Africans. I think this problem will hit us and will jeopardize our efforts for development in the continent.
Following what you have just said about the importance of the reappropriation of Africa in its territory, recently we have seen the candidate of Ambassador Lamamra, Algeria's former foreign minister, to the post of the UN in Libya. We know that the candidate that was rejected, but do you think that it is important that today the next UN envoy in Libya comes from an African country?
I think that's it's not only our demand, but it's also the demand of other partners and permanent members of the Security Council. So unfortunately, even another candidate, which is from Africa now, is still has not been released to start the work at a time when we really need the strong voice and the strong envoy of UN to conduct the negotiation process now that hopefully everybody understood that there is no military solution to the Libya conflict. So not only we are saying for Libya, but all other missions in Africa, it is the demand of Africans that we have African envoys in the continent.
Thank you. The last question. So while COVID-19 is running its course in Africa, as you said before, conflict prevention and mediation efforts have been affected. Do you think that, talking about the implementation of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, do you think that paradoxically this situation may turn into an opportunity for women peace builders in Africa?
Well, I could not agree more with you. I think until now we have misused or not used properly the potential of our women in the continent. I think they have that better sense of feeling any upcoming conflicts, and they are the first one to suffer from those conflicts. So they are best placed to advise us and find the right way to address and find the resolution for this conflict. And here I want, in addition to what our envoy, the chairperson envoy, I want to indicate that we have successfully launched a new platform which has now over 2 years, and it's working very well. That's FemWise. And I'm proud to indicate that we have deployed already on the ground in Sudan and South Sudan. And as we speak, we are going to deploy to 3 other countries in the coming days, and more to come as well. I think this is the way to give the opportunity for these young women mediators to show what they are capable of. And I think if we entrust them with the confidence and we give them the necessary means, I am sure that they will change a lot of things, and especially stop this gender-based violence in many situations. And they can also help us on issues of education, of protection of childs. I think this is the necessary investment we have all to do together. And I want all our partners to believe in this FemWise and also support us to deploy more on the ground.